dare say those who have gone beyond being tribes people, which I'm going to talk about briefly, they turned up. That's the only reason why P2B with his Labour Party could have been considered as a winner. And we all know he won. But sorry for another day. Because of these people, and we must keep celebrating them. However, we failed as followers. And we failed because we haven't gotten to the finish line. We should anticipate all that happened. We should have been thinking of what we needed to do in the event of all of this happening. Followership, the biggest bane of followership is the fact, if I summarize in how the Greeks have defined human beings, they've categorized us into 3 buckets. And as I talk about these 3 buckets, I want you, each of you, to ask yourself, where do I belong? Which bucket do I belong? Because guess what? You'll be shocked that most of us belong to where we're trying to run away from, even as exposed, educated Nigerians. The worst of the groups are those people who are self-centered, who are selfish, who just know themselves. Everything they do is about themselves, nothing else. They call them idiots. Just about themselves. They can sacrifice anything just for their own personal pleasure. And if they're in school, they forge. If they're in appointments, they steal. Everything about their life is about transaction. There's no purpose. They're not driven by any ideology. It's just about their selfishness and greed. So, until they find themselves in certain locations, we all will be mingling and talking, but really, who are we? Where do we find ourselves? The second category are those people they consider tribes people. And by tribes people, it's not necessarily tribe alone. Yes, tribe is part of it. All they know is themselves and their tribe and their clique and their colleagues and their schoolmates and their denomination, their church. Anything above it, no. So they do the Parakpo thing and they confine in it. If you even give an appointment, they give appointment only to their tribe. If they have any opportunity, those are tribes people. And it is said that a study has shown that most Africans are either idiots or tribes people. And that's the bane. In fact, they say actually up to 80 or 90% of us fall into this category. Because until we are not these 2 categories, then we can become selfless. And becoming selfless means we can actually give the ultimate sacrifice, even if it's death for what you believe in. Because not until we have those type of followership. So when people even shout revolution, who's going to do a revolution for you? Somebody who is selfish or just thinking about his own tribe? Come on. So what do we need is the 3rd category, which is the true citizens, people who just want a better society, who are civilized in approach, who understand that it's not just about themselves, that everybody has his own rights to live and to let live. And that my rights may end here, but that could be where your own rights would begin. Until we have such people, and then how do we move people from being idiots and tribes people to citizens? So that's the big question. It takes a lot of orientation, education, and enforcement and consequence management. Until people pay a price for their criminality, things won't change. When they know it's not the order of the day, it's not fashionable to be criminal in their approach, that's when things will begin to change. So we have to use both pull and push factors We've got to get people to behave in a civilized manner. Let them understand the importance of it. And this type of engagement is part of it. Because as we do this introspection, we're asking ourselves, who are we? Let us stop being idiotic and tribes people and start thinking more nationally, something that brings us together. I believe that as we do this, we will begin to solve the followership question that will enable us to hold the leadership accountable. One of the key responsibilities of followers is to hold the leadership to account. How do we hold them to account? How do we stop their impunity? What do we do? That's why INEC can do anything and get away with it. The judges can do anything and get away with it. The president can do anything and get away with it because we are docile as followers. Half of what is happening in Nigeria can't happen where I am today, Cairo, Egypt. It's not possible. What are you talking about? Who country belongs to who? People have, anyway, what I'm saying to you all is that we are failing in our responsibilities, both as followers and leaders, but more to the leadership. And part of it is because, unfortunately, we haven't looked at the key essentials in entrenching and recruiting leadership. And let me now go to the issue of leadership. I've said it in many fora. I was, again, in the US, I spoke about this. I was at the convocation lecture in Oka last month. I spoke about this. I was at St. Leo event. I spoke about this. So I've been doing this the bit that I can so that people can understand. Let's focus on 4 Ps in recruiting leadership. Things that I consider, because when you don't get these boxes ticked, you can just focus on one and miss the other. I used to tell people then, when, with due respect, Buhari and Goodluck Jonathan were on the ballot, I told people we're in trouble. We're in trouble because none of these 2 men actually will tick my boxes. However, when I consider them, weigh them properly, Goodluck was still by far better than Buhari. That's why I would vote for Goodluck. And we would argue and argue. I told some of my Katsina friends, and I said to them, you know what? I'm begging you, now that your brother has won, I'm begging, please make Katsina the best state in Nigeria. I would be, let me see, actually, but now I wanted to almost speak Igbo now. Let me see where I can take somebody to and be proud to say, oh, come, let me show you one place in Nigeria that's, things are working well, moving well, progressing well. I'm so proud of. But today, I'll say that to prove a point that we should stop thinking about tribe and self and all those mundane things. They hold us down all the time. If only we can begin to look at things, I can go more specific and granular, but again, I don't want to stretch this conversation beyond. I wasn't even given any time, but hopefully in another 10 minutes, I'll be done talking. So please, my brothers and sisters, the 4 Ps of leadership, the first and by far the most important is about the person, the personality that we are about to put into leadership. And I'm not just referring to presidency, every single leadership. P stands for personality. Who is this person? Who truly is this person? Dig further to figure out the character of that person. And if you figure out this person, for instance, an arrogant fellow, he has no business in leadership. Let me tell you, 2 Sundays ago, I was at Mass and the pastor was preaching and he said something profound. That do you know the difference between the angels of God, and Satan? The man we call Satan was actually in fact, the leader of the angels, if you should call it. But it was only pride. One thing separated the Satan from the rest of the angels. That's what arrogance is. It makes you unequal to Satan in the real world. So, and a lot of times we've been recruiting these arrogant fellows and we keep complaining about them. Go to your town union, go to your local government, go to your state, go to your presidency. When you bring people who are not ready to serve, leadership is about service, then you are failing already. You're looking for people who are empathetic, who are emotionally intelligent. I can spend time talking about emotional intelligence, but we don't have all the time. One of the days, hopefully we can do a live event and we can spend time talking about this. So what I'm saying to you is that personality is very crucial. Don't just choose anybody because of who has more money, who is more connected, look at who this person is. What integrity does he have? Because if you listen to people who just talk, who are professorial in their speeches, and you can't point to what they have done, how they've said something and kept their promises, I'm sorry, you will always enter the wrong bus. Please, the character, competence, capacity, and credibility of a person is one consideration we must make. Second part is the party or platform the person is running under. So I may argue it doesn't matter what party anybody's running. It matters. Party matters. It is party that will give you the platform, and it's the right party that will make you win the election through the right process. I tell people, for instance, if you know your people have rejected this party, like you know, for instance, how Anambra people have rejected the APC with all his, rejects all his works, for instance. I'm sorry, some may be, adherents of APC here. It may work in other states, but in Anambra, from every single election has been proven. So the only way you can win an election with such a party platform is through a wrong process and imposition. And usually when you're imposed, it's that man who has imposed you that you'll be accountable to. You've got to be elected by the people for you to be accountable to the people. So I'm using this to speak generally. I'm not here to market Labour Party particularly. I'm saying generally, choose a party and support that party that your people have bought into their ideology, and that you can also groom the ideology. And over time, yes, we haven't really done well in terms of having ideological differences among parties, but it is getting there. There are other parties, their style, and some styles are just forbidden in certain, especially among civilized people. And what you have found that diasporans and the urban areas will always reject such, we've seen the trend. If Cobden can also do another study, they'll see that trend. That's why in capital cities, for instance, across Nigeria, you find that Labour Party would have done far better than any other party, because there are more preponderant of civilized people where money can't become the alter ego. Now, it's a process. How you emerge has a lot to do with your ability to deliver and who you're accountable to. I tell people, even in town unions, a lot of places where you have Igwe tussle, PG tussle, and all that, because of a wrong process, changing process to suit a particular person, rigging the process. In this case of state elections and federal elections, same thing. If you want to, and this is where I want to make a fundamental recommendation. And I'm happy somebody also highlighted this, in the box when he was talking, when Samadina was talking. We've got to think about the right process for people to emerge. And the one way to achieve this is, honestly, having an electronic voting. E-voting levels the platform. E-voting is such that when we can be in our comfort to even get the diaspora to be part of the process, we've got to ensure that we can put in place the appropriate technology. The idea of use electronic accreditation and then ultimately now electronic transmission, which is now debatable. In between, there's a lacuna there. Cut out these manual interventions, human interventions, and let's just be in the comfort of our home, pressing a button, we are voting across board. I tell you, if we do this, there's a lot that can change in Nigeria. And the last part of the 4 Ps is a promise people are making. What promises are you coming to make? What manifesto, what blueprint? If you bring these 4 Ps together and tick the boxes, trust me, we'll begin to solve the leadership question right. And to deal with this fundamentally, please, let's focus on 2 things in the coming years. The census that's about to happen, to make sure we get it right, and see how we can entrench electronic voting. First of all, build a solution and use advocacy to make sure the appropriate legislations are passed at the National Assembly. If we do this, this is truly when a son of nobody can become somebody in Nigeria. And when we achieve this, and diaspora has an important role to play. In all the other countries, we've done well. Whether it's China or India, you find that diaspora was actually the game changer. Because here now, we are in bondage, we're handicapped. There's something I will say tomorrow, they will come after me. But you guys are safer because you live in a sane society where you have your freedom of speech. And I can tell you this, we are relying on the diaspora to do the needful. And if there must be a change in Nigeria, we must be those followers that are selfless and not just keep bothering about personal pleasures and comfort. If we're that type of follower, we won't hold our leaders accountable, and the change we're asking for won't happen. We will continue our medical missions, our health missions, but let's focus fundamentally on the real game changer, which is recruiting political leadership right and holding them accountable. We need everybody to play its role. Some of us have decided to sacrifice ourselves and drop everything we're doing and push the agenda. And I beg you, don't give up. Hope is still in the offing. We can't give up. And I am so excited that we have a leader who is not transactional, that has brought all of us together. That's the reason, even though what we are talking about in COPDEM actually goes beyond a party issue. But we know that the reason we are for our gatherings is because we saw hope in someone, and we need to make sure that that light does not dim. And as we do this, I believe sincerely that God will help us, bless us, and uplift our country, Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you very, very, very much, Mr. Oziwo. You have dealt with this team in a very, very easy to understand manner. Someone was asking on the forum if you can repeat the 4P again for his benefit, but I think someone has given him that answer on the chat box, the 4 Ps that you elucidated upon. Thank you very much once again. Ladies and gentlemen, we spoke about our first guest of honor, Mr. Peter Obi. He promised to be in this gathering, but as we know, he has a lot of things to do. He also said he has some other programs, but that he will make sure he joins this meeting. So we are still waiting to see when he joins, and once he joins, we will allow him to give us his brief address and then take questions from us. In the meantime, we are now in the question and answer session with Mr. Ozigbo at this point. So please make your questions brief so that we'll give him time to attend to his other activities. We have had he's in Egypt at the moment with a lot of things to do. Thank you very much once again, Mr. Ozigbo. This is worth listening to. I agree with that post on the chat box. This is a speech worth listening to. So first of all, we take the first hand I saw that went up actually was Mr. Martin Ebwe, Mr. Emeka Ezechi, and Mr. Michael Chukwujeku. So let's start from Martin. Let's hear the first three to see whether, unless the first one is so vast that it needs to be addressed a lot. So Mr. Ebwe, you are free to unmute yourself. Please make all your questions brief so that we won't have to stay here more than necessary. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan, and thank you everyone for coming to this meeting.
Martin?
Yes, can you hear me?
You are very low. Your voice is low.
It's a little low. Okay, maybe I can talk. I'm trying to speak less loudly. Okay. Well, thanks again, Val, and I appreciate everyone that has come to this meeting. I'm going to say thank you, because I thought I was the only crazy one, and they call me militant when I make generalization about the African leaders and the African-led. The difference between the corrupt Nigerian and the other Nigerian is opportunity. When the other Nigerian gets the opportunity, they become the corrupt Nigerian. But let me piggyback on Peter Obi. He is the first person who has given me the slightest hope that there could be a change in Nigeria. So please, ladies and gentlemen here present, if you are going to change Nigeria, you got to start by changing yourself. If you do not change yourself, forget about a change Nigeria. And then just quickly to my question, what are we doing to those representatives who piggybacked on Peter Obi and the Labour Party to win elections? How do we bring them together to start writing legislations to change that country? I know it's easy for them to jump from one party to the other, but it's up to them. But we can put pressure on them to do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. First question noted. Mr. Emeka Ezechi, please. You can unmute yourself.
Okay. Good evening. Good evening, everybody. My point is just this. I think Mr. Valentine Ozigbo, I appreciate your lecture, but there's one point I'm also looking at. We need to strategize on how to make sure that we take back our country. Because what I'm saying, the National Assembly, you are thinking that amend the constitution for us to have a credible election, they cannot do it. Because they will always find a way of creating laws or instituting the legalism that will create loophole for them to manipulate the elections. That is one. Then I'm begging, is there any way we can come together? Because the truth is that taking back our country is not by press conferences, it's not by world press conferences, not by issuing press statements. Those ones are good. But we need to take that action of coming out very strongly and take back our country. That is my position. Thank you very much. I yield.
All right. Thank you. Dr. Michael Chukwujeku, please. You can unmute yourself.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dan and the Condemn team. Thank you, His Excellency, for that well-structured delivery. We were so proud of you, and we are quite glad that you made these comments. I have a few observations and a question resonating from your statements that first said we did so well. There are quite a lot that they call it the obedience of Nigerian citizens, the youth, and the diaspora did in 2023. I so much 100% agree with you on that, and I say thanks for observing that. The diaspora illuminating on the title that you spoke on, really came out en masse and tried to liaise with Nigerians to see that we take back our country. Most of these diasporans liaise with support groups. Now, we tried to undo atrocities of 50 years in 1 year. And we did a lot. We achieved a high milestone from what the British did to all the things that's been happening. In 1 year, the Nigerians, the youth, the diasporans that you recognized through the support groups did a lot. We appreciate it. My question is, what is our strategic plan? We don't want to be discouraged. People don't want to be discouraged. And by this comment, I'm joining you to encourage everyone to say, the things that we did is a starting point to achieving greater heights. And so how do we keep the momentum on to ensure that people don't get discouraged? And you made a reference to what happened in Imo State today, where a governor won in 27 local governments of the state, and he's been declared the winner. And then the rest of the places. And then he also made a comment about the fact that if you're in the wrong party, you may eventually get into power in a wrong pedestal and you'll be there. Now, what is our plan? We want to take back Nigeria. How do we harness the potentials in the diaspora, giving them this hope and the strategy they need to know that there is still a light at the end of the tunnel? There was a meeting we had, sorry, I digress this, we had yesterday about all obedience. And I said this for us to hear. Everybody, more than 230 conveners were texting me in the morning and saying, we need a change of strategy. We need to match fire by fire. We need to match. Now, power is given. Power is not served. Nigerian election is not a religious church election. It's not a church election for priests or for church wardens. Many people were saying they were ready to ensure that different departments are created within the obedient family, Nigerian citizens, the youth, the diaspora, to ensure that we really take back Nigeria, however we take it. Because eventually you go to court. So if we continue the way we are going, we will be going to the same court that has been compromised. Sorry that I have to use this word, but it's on the public domain that the Nigerian court is what it is. So how do we go on this? Many Nigerians are there. And the party we are using, good to note, I will also Val, we've discussed a little bit, but no more on this. The party we are using don't seem to see the potentials in the diaspora and the support group. If the revolution we want to happen in Nigeria, I see it happening with the support groups and nothing more. I see it happening with the youth and nothing more. And another thing is the trajectory has changed. Many people won Senate position 4 years ago. Many won governor 5 years ago. The trajectory of the electoral process in Nigeria has changed. And I appreciate you when you talked about harnessing the technology in the diaspora. Can you see that today elections were already written in all the polling units before it started? And some contestants in the position they're contesting do not even know how many polling units in the state they are contesting in. This is what the youth and the diaspora are bringing on board. If we want to take our nation, we need to do it and do it right and know where their trajectory is. It's no longer winning because people love you. There are a lot we can talk offline, but this is my question and observation. Thank you.
Hello, should I go ahead and attend the three questions? Alumba?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, please. Go if you are able to address the questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, yeah, thank you. Mr. Martin was the first person to make comments. Let me appreciate him for those positive comments. And he asked about our representatives, the National Assembly, maybe even in the State Assembly as well. So whether senators or House of Reps or House of Assemblies under the Labour Party platform, how do we begin to make sure that they are positively aligned and they do the needful? I have two comments as a reaction. One is on the positive side, and another not so positive, but eventually we can begin to learn. On the positive side, I believe a lot of them are already under pressure. Some of them do ask themselves the right questions about not letting Labour Party down, not letting the obedience down, knowing that we will hold them accountable. And so if they're doing wrong today, know you that they would have done worse things if they were not under a Labour Party platform. There was this story, I don't know if it's real, but it was told by a priest at a mass, where people came complaining about this evil man who they always give seats in front. That this man is a rapist, is a killer, is a murderer, is what they all go on and on and on. Why do you allow this man to even enter church? They asked the priest. And in response, the priest said to them, if this man is doing all these things, sitting in the front pew, can you then imagine the level of criminality he will be exercising if he wasn't coming to church at all? It's a lesson that we need to, point to, because by the fact that they are under LP, trust me, they're under pressure. I know this because I engage with them. They want to shine. They want to do what we want to hear. However, we also are in a country called Nigeria. Some of them, because we have wrong processes, I wish I have enough time to delve into the consequence of what I'm talking about. My brothers and my sisters, imagine where you go to the street and you're spending, in some cases, 100, 200 million naira, 300 million naira just to become a candidate of your party in a House of Reps election. Some cases, they've gone a borrowing. Imagine when you spend even equivalent of that or more in the main election and you're declared winner and you're then taken to court. Then you start the spending at the tribunal and eventually at the Court of Appeal. Imagine where you're also spending, in some cases, 100, 200 million to defend your victory in court. And you still borrowing some, mortgage the houses, some. And when you then get there, you're telling me that you will still be that human being that we're preaching about, that will do the needful and not focusing on how to recover some money to make. So this is why when I talk about what an e-voting can do for us, I wish we can comprehend it. If an idea where, imagine my own election in Anambra, they deployed 34,000 policemen. Go and cost it. And now some will tell you, if you now want to win an election, this is what you budget for this. And so ridiculous, because we're in a country called Nigeria, where we are not dealing at things at the root cause. If we are able to mount pressure, that is the biggest revolution we can get. to have an electronic voting where you don't care who is in power. You don't care who INEC chairman is. You don't care how corrupt or how sane or how civil he may or may not be. You don't care. As long as we have checked the efficacy, veracity, and integrity of the system being entrenched, and you use the right technology, perhaps blockchain technology, can use a BVN and make sure nobody votes more than once. You have huge, in fact, I can tell you 3 times the number of people voting will vote because everybody's just going to be in the comfort of their home. You don't need a policeman, you don't need a tout, you don't need nobody, you don't need a military. Real revolution will happen. And that's when the real people that we want will come along in entire value chain from local government to state to, and that's when we can truly catch up with the rest of the world, because we need all this to be in place for the environment that will foster the type of transformation we're talking about to happen. So I'll say this to you, it is good that we have people on the Labour Party platform. Whether they be the right people we wish for now or they are not, hopefully they can help us together to achieve those changes that we want. But on the negative side of this is we are people who are still idiotic and tribes, basically transactional and not purpose-driven. Some of our people got in there by accident. There was not even a proper selection process, and all these P's I've mentioned couldn't really be assessed. But I believe as we begin to strengthen our party platform going forward, build the right structure, you will see that we will begin to get it right going forward. So I'm also saying this, please do not expect too much from our people because they are now there under Labour Party. Some of them are still who they are. Purely selfish, transactional, we must admit. And let me go to the next question by Emeka SHE, where he's talking about taking back our country. When I hear people talk about this, I don't even know what to say. I would leave a few words. And what I'm going to simply say to all of you is you should know the right thing to do at the right time and how best to do the right things. We've talked about holding people accountable. We've talked about being selfless in our pursuits. We've talked about what we need to do for the kind of Nigeria we wish for to happen. Please stop expecting your leaders to come out one day and tell you, start the riot on the street, do this and do that. If you don't get enough wisdom and knowledge from some of the engagements that have happened over the, you know how they say, if you don't get it, forget it. That's how much I can say to you. If you don't get it, forget it. But in general, let us be a bit more selfless in our dealing and stop, in fact, basically protect your leaders. Dr. Michael, thank you. You basically echoed a lot of the sentiments that I shared here. But your question, therefore, is how do we keep the momentum? This is part of it. Keeping the momentum, ideally should have been, we begin now to win every single election going forward. So having lost in these 3 states, I'm not the most excited of human beings. But still, it doesn't take away because for me, what drives us should be about the quest for a new Nigeria. And because for me, if you just stop hoping, then you start dying. The only reason we're alive is because we hope for the better. And there's no better. I had this argument with my wife one of the mornings, and I said to her, yes, I like to pray for miracles and transformations to happen, but some of these are personal miracles and personal. The biggest miracle that I really am interested in is the miracle of a new Nigeria, where, the change we're yearning for, we see it in our lifetime. I have decided that I will stick to this, and if by the grace of God, God calls me and says, what did you do? I can say, at least I made this little effort for a better country. That is my mission in this world now. And any other thing that I do has to be towards achieving that mission. Whether it's about activities in church or sporting things I do or business transactions that I do. And the reason I'm saying this is, it is important that we keep the momentum going individually and collectively. Them, you're doing the right thing by assembling us together and identifying the gaps and learning points. But I'm also saying, go a bit further. Maybe you can be the one to champion the enthronement of e-voting platform in Nigeria. And again, I'm happy to actually lend my support actively in this. I'm happy to even provide some resources for the purpose of developing and building that system. And now pushing advocacy to ensure that we achieve it. This is one thing that I know that Peter Obi would have done for us if he had become the president in 2023. And I don't want to even wait until he becomes in 4 years' time. Whatever we can do to make sure it happens now, we need to do that. While pushing on other frontiers, there are several things that will need to happen to keep momentum going beyond the COPDEM efforts, beyond the diaspora effort, beyond the support group efforts, also even at the party level. What we need to do to strengthen and capacitize our Labour Party in Nigeria across all the wards, local government, states, is also very crucial. And I know a lot of people are in different discussions in this regard. People are really are pushing. It's not everything that comes publicly, because some of these strategies are not things. Remember, we're in a war zone. There are people who are also planning how to keep us down because they know that we're the big thing that will change the story. And I can tell you, I can't, Dr. Michael also highlighted this. I said this, the wall of Germany didn't just fall with one crack. I can tell you a massive dent has been hit on that wall. And next little push, that wall will crack. Thank you.
I thank you very much. Once again, we are waiting to see when Mr. Peter Obi will join. He has just called to say that we should please give him a few more minutes to a lot of things he's been engaging with. So the moment he joins, then we will have to allow him to have his say immediately. Meanwhile, we still have some more hands. With the way these hands are going up, I don't know whether we will still be able to exhaust our agenda for tonight. But let's still take more hands, provided that our keynote speaker is available to take those questions.
I'm not keynote. Call me, I'm the John the Baptist. When my master comes, I will disappear.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Joe Paul Obi, Mr. Nemeka Christian, Ako Christian, three of you. So let's start from Joe Paul Obi, please. You can unmute yourself. Joe Paul, can you unmute yourself? If not, Mr. Nemeka Crescent?
Yes, good afternoon. My question is straightforward. as an advocacy group, and a lot of people say advocacy and pressure group. Mr. B talked about diaspora voting. I need to get your input on how do we pressurize this National Assembly or push it, and see if it will happen. If you can give us some insight on that, a little bit of your take on the possibility, we will appreciate it. Thank you.
Right, Joe Paul Obi, are you there? If not, Mr. Co-Christian.
Okay, good evening all. Good evening, Mr. Valentine. Glad to have you. We've learned so much from your speech. It's full of wisdom, and going forward, we'll act in that regard. Mine is observation. What we had going on in this off-cycle selection rather, if no objection, if no blatant rejection, then sorry to say, 2027 will be worse, because I saw a situation. People are just claiming identity, and I don't know if there's any way of verifying the identity of, especially in Imo State, where we had people coming in as LGA. Those people, majority of them came from a state, and I began to imagine what's the yardstick for that sort of lopsided appointment from Federal University of Ekiti. You see a young man claiming he's a professor. So many claims, and I saw traces of talks who are being given title to come and present results. What will I don't know if we can make a push as well as we're making a push for e-voting. What stops internal persons, people who are living in a particular state, to be appointed as returning officers instead of having strange people who cannot be verified? That's one side. Then inside of maintaining the structure is a Herculean tax. We will have to do a lot in reaching out to all the polling units across the Federation. I want us to diversify our approach to campaigning. If we can just go straight, recruit membership directly, 10 per polling unit, we are done and dry. Because if you look at the structure of the LP, I don't think if they are able to add a value across board, it will not be more than 100,000 voters. And I'm looking at a situation where we're able to get 10 persons per polling unit, get to enroll them in, register them officially as members. People want to be officially recognized that they are part of a project. And I observed that leading to the election, we had multiple apps coming up, and it doesn't help the situation. Like there is this other one that was efficient. I've forgotten the name now, that was used for registering of people across polling units. If we can stick to one, let's stick to one and know that this is what we are going to use come 2027, then we'll go by it. Then fourth, we need to develop our own militia group, so to say, that will have our back, because going to face this battle with a naked hand is like dipping hand into a transformer without putting on a glove and expecting that there will be no electric shock. Look at the lives are being wasted in Imo State, for instance, where the Labour Party chairman was bundled out of collation center, knowing fully well that nothing will happen. So we need to show preparedness in that regard. So I would like to yield. Thank you. I'm Ako Christian. Thank you.
All right, thank you. One more question, either Joe Paul Obi or Chinedu. Chinedu.
Yeah, Chinedu.
Yep,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you so much for coming, Agava. Well, at this point, a lot of people might want to think that Nigeria is irredeemable in terms of what has happened over the past couple of years and months. And I do believe that as long as we still have what we call the ballot paper, ballot boxes, things are going to get worse in Nigeria. So I believe also that one of the ways to curb this madness going on in Nigeria is by doing something revolutionary, like doing an entirely electronic-based elections. That's the only way we cut out all these people perpetrating fraud at every level in Nigeria. It's just so sad. A lot of people are just having this. I think it's a misunderstanding, or they're just thinking that there are no people voting for the wrong people. There are still a lot of people who are voting for the wrong people in Nigeria. You know, so my question, particularly looking at what has happened over since the last presidential election. Because I see that Labour Party, they gathered momentum during the presidential election. After that, nothing else has happened. So the question I'm asking is, what efforts are Labour Party making to make sure that they have structures, not just in the South, but in the North? Because there is no way, evidence has shown that you cannot win the presidential election in Nigeria without winning substantial part of the North. So what effort is Labour Party making? Starting now, we can't wait till the next, maybe 2026 to start doing that. The same thing is going to happen. So what efforts are Labour Party making, or maybe progressives making, to make sure that they have the kind of structures that will have them have evidence of electoral malpractices? Because what I noticed is that during the last election, despite the fact that we had thousands of support groups, most of which were really there to collect money, they were not effective at all. I was in Nigeria and I saw that most of the effort being made by the support groups were not really being felt, most of the places. So what efforts are they making to make sure that they reach the core North? Because one of the problems is that the Labour Party could not have agents at the polling booths. That's why they kept on asking about evidence. That's very important, and we're overlooking it. So by now we should have said, okay, we had evidence, it's shown that P2B won this in this kind of state. This is the polling results, but we didn't see, I haven't seen any. Let's say Kanu State. Where are the polling results from Kanu State by Labour Party agents? I haven't seen any. These are realities. So what efforts are the Labour Party or the Progressive making to start now to create those necessary structures, awareness, and to tell people that it is not just about P2B, it is just not about the 2023 presidential election. That we will continue to start now, because Nigeria is in a very bad state, very bad shape. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Zibo, please.
All right, thank you so very much, Mr. Nyameka. Diaspora voting, you've raised this, but clearly, if we succeed with e-voting, then it's automatic to achieve diaspora voting. Otherwise, we'll end up with the way other diasporas are voting in other climes, mailing boxes and all of that. But whether this will be achievable, if we continue to allow Nigeria drift the way it is going, I really can't say. P2B did promise that if he is elected, 2023 will be the last time the diasporans won't vote. But we did our best, but our best was lacking to the extent that we haven't been able to entrench him there. And so the issue of diaspora voting is up in the air. Are we going to achieve it in 2023, 2027? It's anybody's guess. But one thing for sure is, if you deal with the fundamental parts, then that easily will be taken care of. So what can the diasporas do to enable us push the advocacy for e-voting? Let me turn the question back to you. For Christian, thank you. You've said a lot of things which I do agree with. Most of them are not questions, they are comments. But your assertion that 2027 may be worse depends on us again, if we let it. So the question here is, do we want a better 2027? Or do we want a worse 2027? It's in our hands. Of course, if you do nothing, it may be worse. If you do something, then it won't be worse. And I'm happy to do something to make sure it's not worse. So again, Christian, I ask you, what would you wish? Would you want us to even deepen our woes or insist that enough is enough? And I can tell you, the biggest thing we have is that we have some people, especially our leader, who is not transactional, who is purpose-driven, and who is ready to stay on the course. I said this because imagine that we had the typical Nigerian who will go there, succumb to pressure, collects billions of dollars, and like some people will even do BD waka and move on. Then where we will be? There'll be nothing to fight on, but we still have a reason to fight on. So I believe that everything is in our hands. So the bird that we've put by the side, and you're asking me whether it's dead or alive, depends on whether I want to kill the bird or present it alive. So please, again, what 2027 do we wish for? And you mentioned the militant group. Well, I'll say this to you, Division of Labor. Let me be in charge of the civilian group. You will be in charge of the militant group.
Oh, God.
So then let me go to the last speaker. The brother mentioned about the northern play. What do we need to do to strengthen Labour Party in the north? It's really a question that cuts across everywhere. It's not about north or south. It's not about east or west. How do we strengthen Labour Party? And how do we protect the mandates? That's the real question, because guess what? P2B actually won in the north. If you aggregate the numbers, we won. I can mention some of the states. And when you put all that together, you will understand that even with the so-called, not so strong at the corner, yeah, he can do better. We can do better in those areas. And there are things Labour Party will need to do, but the most fundamental is what you raise. How do we protect the mandate? There are a lot of learnings and a lot of things we could have done better. And you did highlight polling unit agents, engaging them properly, training them properly, empowering them, and leveraging the technology to do more. I think there are some places we can do a lot more. And this is actually part of the reason I'm hopeful that what happened in 2023 will never repeat again, even under this criminal circumstance that we found ourselves in. But to guarantee success, we must hold people accountable. And I say this generally, please let us be citizens, true citizens, and insist on probing and asking difficult questions and playing a proper opposition that we ought to be playing, so that don't allow things to be swept away. Let's hold every single leader, especially at the national and state levels, and even also at the local levels, accountable. When we do and push this, I tell you, there's a lot that can be achieved. Thank you.
All right. Next three hands I'm seeing. I'm not sure PO is still available to join now. So let's take the next 3 questions. Mr. Real Vabest, Sir Olatunde Okelana, Edem Kindness. You can. Yeah.
Hello. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening. Depends on where you are watching. I want to thank Valentine Osibo. My name is Sir Olatunde Okelana, Oyo State Co-Prep Chairman. Valentine is my brother for long time. I want to thank you, and I learned a lot from your lecture. It's a lecture, it's not just a speech. And I want to take you on this. Let me start by saying, number one, are you still convincing us that we're still going to be with Labour Party till 2027? That is question number one. Why I said that is because of the structure. It's already collapsing. And we don't know who's our leader. If I am still a member of Labour Party, who's my leader today? That's number one question. Number two, do we need revolution or evolution of the mind? What is the best way forward for Nigeria? And then another one is the electronic voting. Do you think our mindset can accept electronic voting between now and 2027? The reason why I asked that question is because of level of illiteracy and can I say illiteracy and exposure, and the populace, the elites in Nigeria who are living in the urban, who has good phone as far as we don't have centers. Because, for example, in the United States of America, when you're talking about electronic voting are done not on the election day. They could have been doing it 1 week, 2 weeks before the time. Even when the day of election, you will not see them declaring a whole day that is a public holiday, no movement, no this, no that. You will not know where there is election. Having said that, sir, the challenges we have primarily this year, I want you to take note, is funding. We have challenges of funding because we were dancing between having 10 party agent or 4 or 5, be as it is made. I was only lucky in my area that those people I was able to use as party agent, they paid them. They were paid. I don't know where the money comes from, but the money eventually came. No matter how small, they were paid. I think Labour Party did not get any big wig to sponsor the election. All the PCC we belongs to, I was in mobilization, I was in security. Even when Peter Obi came to Oyo State, Labour Party did not carry us along as a support group. And as a leader of the leading support group in Oyo State, they didn't carry us along. They were not transparent. So the issue of funding is one. Secondly, the issue of trust. There is no trust. I don't even know who is my leader in Labour Party as of today. Whether I should follow my town man, the one that court is telling me is my leader, or I should follow the one that I know from the onset, the one that makes us to know that Peter Obi should be the presidential candidate of the party.
What are those your titles again? Remind me those your titles again.
I am Balogun Olugbo of Orile Igbo. I'm a justice of peace of Oyo State. Presently, I'm a PhD student in criminology and security studies.
Okay, thank you. Stop here. Thank you. Let me quickly, somebody noted in the chat group that it looks like His Excellency is here. I don't know if it's true. Then maybe I should quickly respond to him and then yield the floor.
She don't agree, we'll cook for her, please. She said the most important thing.
Somebody's talking at the background.
Not be cooking is the problem. And
can we block that gentleman, please? Alex, whatever.
So let me just he's still talking though. Okay. Would that be LP I was still going to remain in LP in 2027. I think this question is, with due respect, misplaced, because you still, I think you're confused by this whole antics of the what the APC has been trying to do with some elements within the Labour Party. And I believe that has already been settled. There is never any question about who the leader is in APC. Never. And unless there's something wrong fundamentally. As of today, Julius Abure is national chairman. So anybody who comes up to say, we don't know who, and with due respect, you need to rethink and recheck yourself, please, with due respect. These other people that will come out to say that Peter B should not go to court, that will come out to say Labour does not have candidates in Imo, or come out and asking me if he's a leader. Come on, please. I feel really highly insulted, with due respect, that we're saying we don't know who our leader is. We do know who our leader is, and I know him, and that's the only one I see and engage and relate with. If I see some of these other names on the road, I won't even know who they are because they have never shown up anywhere. Please, let's not confuse our people. We know who our leaders are. And do we need revolution or evolution? We need both. When I talk about what we need to be and do as followers, moving our mind from being idiotic and tribes people becoming citizens, that's evolution. I am a preacher, an adherent, and a champion of Kaizen, which is a culture of continuous improvement, that anything we do in life, we must keep doing better, getting better at it, and improving continuously. And it is one of the problems we face. It's not only leadership, culture is also another problem that we face. And we need to combine leadership with culture, a culture that challenges status quo. We must ask probing questions. This thing we are doing, is this still necessary? Must we continue to do it like this? Can we not do it better? Is there no way we can cut these wastes? If we don't ask these questions, we remain, perennially backward. We've got to evolve as a people. And it is actually through that evolution that other things you're talking about can happen. When you're asking the right questions and saying this shouldn't, enough is enough, this cannot continue. We must not do it this way because our great-grandfathers did it that way. And that's where the real change, if you call it revolution, call it anything, can happen because we're evolving as a people. And then e-voting. My dear brother, if we do e-voting today, there will be double the number of people who voted in other elections compared to those that vote. Yes, you may say that some may be disenfranchised at the first instance. There are already many who are being disenfranchised, even with manual voting. So please spare me that story. We can do e-voting today. We don't even need to wait until 2027. We can do it today. It is all about mindset, changing the ideas, and in fact, evolving as a people. How many people have BVN today? How many people are MTN subscribers today? It's by far more than the so-called INEC database that's unreal. Anambra, for instance, when we did our election, they said we were 2.7 million voters. But guess what? Even in the highest of voting that happened, which was this presidential election, where P2B came out for an elective position, we were not more than 600,000. So if you ask me, how many voters are in Anambra, I'll tell you it's the average, not the 2.7 million. Some of the people there are fictitious things that are manufactured, especially in other crimes. Maybe we are 1 million, but I'm telling you, there are more than 1 million people with phone numbers, with BV. And in Anambra, I'm using that as an example. tell you that we will have more people. And so if you wish to be a voter, then go get your BVN. And if you don't have capacity, some people will help you. You see advocacy, you see the diasporas can now come in there. The NGOs can come in there and make sure more people get in. But do the right thing. Let us stop the criminality first. That's what I'm talking about. Let's stop this wrong process where criminals are being entrenched and we're all held down and our story continues to remain like this. On fundraising, this is where you come in. You are a very rich man because I see you on the 10th floor all the time. So bring the money and we can win the elections. God bless you.
Thank you very much once again, Mr. Ozigbo. It appears that His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi is now here with us. So, sir, can you please, we acknowledge your presence. Thank you very much for joining. Could you please help us to confirm by unmuting yourself and helping us to confirm basically that you are here, sir? You know, can you please unmute yourself, sir? If you're in a position to do so. Right, Mr. Zbi, it appears we will still detain you. Let me do a private confirmation. So can we please take 3 more questions and then I'll confirm privately.
All right.
Okay. Can you? I think yeah, he can. Okay, sorry. Can you please unmute yourself now, sir?
Yes,
exactly.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. It's
We thank you.
Even unmuting myself to speak.
We thank you very much. We understand you are very, very, very busy schedule, especially today of all days. But we have been waiting to see you. So thank you very much, sir. And we are happy that you were able to make our time from a busy schedule to join us tonight. Without much ado, we have taken the indulgence to choose this topic for you to, if you're able to speak to us on that, please. It says, engaging Nigerians in diaspora to create a productive and prosperous society for everyone. Yes, the mantra of the 2023 election from Labour Party is changing Nigeria from consumption to production. How can our people in diaspora help to do that, especially towards changing the political narrative, the political structure, changing the criminality and governance to enthrone a productive and prosperous political environment? So thank you very much, sir. You don't need much introduction from us.
Well, thank you if you're hearing me. First is that I sincerely apologize that I came into the meeting late. I did earlier promise you that I'll participate in the meeting for a very short time, but I thought I would join probably by 9 o'clock and be able to end by 9:30. Unfortunately, if you ask anybody today in Nigeria, he will tell you that the flights were disrupted for about 5 hours because they had an issue with a flight that either crash landed in Abuja airport and disrupted every other movement, because I was supposed to leave Asaba at about 1 o'clock, but the flight that was supposed to come from Abuja and then take us to Lagos was held up because of this disruption in Abuja for over 5 hours, which is made all the arrangements in other meetings that I would have had before joining you disrupted. I'm still at the middle of one of them when I say, let me excuse myself and be able to just apologize for my not joining you. Secondly, is again to thank you people for what you're doing by continuing this engagement. I've been listening for a while in what is happening, even when it took me time to join. Thirdly, is that maybe, you know, when we were talking, said, if I can just come in and take 1 or 2 questions, and then we'll leave a longer discussion for another date, because this will be the end of your meetings. The meetings will go on and on. So I will plead that if there's just 1 or 2 questions, that I take it. It's not the best of days for me to be able to tell you I'm going to deliver a lecture. You know, if I can just come in 1 or 2 questions, and then we'll leave maybe in the next meeting, or we'll plan something later on where we have a longer list. Now for me is to take questions. So that's what I think I will plead with.
Okay, but that's very well. I know that a lot of people will want to ask questions. Before I allow those questions, I think when Mr. Val Ozigbo was addressing us, a lot of questions that was asked him revolves around the fallout from the 2023 presidential election, the disenfranchisement of a lot of people, the obvious. It was clear that the result announced by INEC did not reflect the wishes of the people. So a lot of questions that have been asked there is, how is the Labour Party preparing to stop a repeat in the future? And how do you think Nigerians in diaspora can help to effect that process? In other words, having an election that will reflect the wishes of Nigerians. How are you getting prepared? How are you getting your followers prepared? How are you getting your party prepared to make sure that future elections reflect the wishes of Nigerians? If you can, then we'll allow other questions to come.
Let me tell you my own position. I might not be answering the question, but I'll tell you my own position. This election was announced, the result of this election, presidential, was announced on the 25th of February. On March 1st, the election took place 25th of February. The result was announced on March 1st. From March 1st until 26th of October, we were in court. And everybody knew what that process took until that day. So you will say that we're in court until recently. For me, in particular, is not to talk about how we're going to do the next election, how we're going to do this, but first and foremost is to do a bit of reflection within the next 1 month and start by going and meeting and thanking people sincerely for their sacrifice. We can't talk about preparing for this or that without first sitting down and appreciating and thanking those who sacrifice everything. I listen when people are talking about money, talking about this, you know, they didn't get money, they didn't get funding. There are people who, they didn't put money, they didn't put anything, but they put more than what money would have done. So you need to go around and thank them. So when you do that, then as you're going and consulting people, I don't think it's something we have to start meeting now and saying, oh, we are preparing for 2027 this way or that way or that way. Some of them is something we have to be able to even sit down and talk about quietly. suggestion now. Until I say thank you to people, I don't want to talk about what we're going to do next. There's a lot of things diasporans will do. I'm going to come, like I said in my speech, I'll meet people in their respective areas and we talk about the way forward. But I've seen me do that.
Why are you getting muted?
I'll plead that we'll leave this particular one on this particular question.
Okay, that's very well. Thank you, sir. Let's quickly take some questions, please. Dr. Cordelia Udo, Henry Oguino, P. Law. Let's take these 3 questions. First, Dr. Udo, please. Can you unmute yourself? Dr. Cordelia?
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome on board our president, Peter Obi. You will remain our president. You know, Mr. Ozigbo, analysis showed that majority of Nigerians are either selfish, he called it idiots, or tribal. But a minority are citizens, meaning they do the right things. Meaning they objectively, analyze and cast their vote. Doesn't it make sense that regional rotational presidency and possibly a fixed term should be advocated? If you're dealing with majority of your population who are gonna vote, either you give them money or they vote their own.
If you read my last speech, that was emphatical. If you read my last press conference, it was very clear. If we must progress, I said it emphatically, we must have a fixed term of 5 years. I must rotate within the 6 geopolitical zone in order to be able to contain this troubling situation. I even went further to say that if we cannot return to parliamentary system, we must have a quasi-parliamentary system, because what that does is that it allows the leader, president, vice president, to be able to go through some legislative and public question and answer where he's talking directly to the people that have elected him, instead of a process where you hire surrogates or source your governance to people who will now be talking to people whenever you say, Peter, we didn't do this. Then 10 people we didn't vote for, I'm not coming. So what you said, if you look at my last speech, is there.
Thank you. Henry,
thank you for your contribution.
Dr. Cordelia?
You are welcome, my president, Peter Obi.
All right.
Is there anything else I need to say? Nothing else. That's it.
No, thank you. Thank you.
All right. Henry Ogune, please. And Dr. Oke, I saw your hand up the other time.
Thank you very much, His Excellency. My name is Dr. Henry Okinye, calling from the Grand Duchy of Luxembourg. You inspired me when we met in Mansion House in 2018 for the Commonwealth Business Conference. That was the first time I was able to interact physically with you, and you got me interested in things about Nigeria because I've lost hope about the country until I met you. So I have 2 questions. One, but I'm from Imo State.
So I'm about to be a bit biased. The issues is one of the reasons people are saying that Labour failed in Imo State because of the choice of candidates. So going forward, how do we make sure that we select candidates whose candidacy are not anchored in their ability to provide finances or bribes or whatever you call it for people, but be able to elect poor people who are credible? That's stems from the period of selecting candidates for elections. Secondly, and most importantly, I don't know how much leverage you might have over the members of Labour Party who are either in the Senate or in the House of Representatives. I've been discussing with some diaspora groups, and they suggested that some of those members should raise a symbolic, I repeat, a symbolic motion of impeachment on Bola Tinubu for certificate forgery and all the whole crime against him, all he must have committed in the past. Not that knowing Nigeria that he will pass, but to raise the platform for Nigerians and especially Nigerian diaspora to dissociate themselves from the personality that's occupying the presence of Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for at least, I'm very glad that you mentioned that I inspired you to still believe in Nigeria. And I still want to urge you to believe in Nigeria. We have no other country except this one, and nobody can change it except us. The politics of the people reflects their values. It is our policies. It shows the values we cherish. It's all you're seeing in our political and other life conducts. You know, if you celebrate criminality, if you don't see it as, if you don't see criminality as wrong, if you don't see corruption as wrong, they will all become things to celebrate. And that's what we're facing. We're celebrating criminality because for us, there's nothing wrong in doing that. If there's something wrong in doing, then we'll celebrate it. Same thing is what you're seeing in our political life. So for me, like I said, the long day is one. What is said about wrong candidates? In one primary, I can tell you it was free and fair. The chairman of that primary was Dr. Lexoti, governor of Abia State. Valos was his secretary. They went there to conduct that primary. We did everything. And of course, when they ended and counted the votes, Senator Chono won the primary. And we have no alternative. I wouldn't say whether he's the best or the worst, but he was the one who won the primary. Now, you say, what do we do going forward? My position about going forward, which I'm going to discuss with the party and the other person involved, is that we first have to have a criteria. The criteria in the party should be such that it will throw up candidates who we think will best represent what we preach or what we want. We should have a situation where we can even do interview. even before the process. Peter B, was not chosen by the process of primary when I came out first. In Abga, then the leadership and Ojukwu allowed an interview process. And that worked. So that we will find a way of doing this better. On issue, your second question was about, what was your second question again?
So my second question was on how much leverage you have on Labour Party members, who are in reps and Senate to raise a symbolic motion of impeachment.
Let me be honest with you. I wouldn't even encourage it. I'm being honest with you. You know, because there's a lot of, I'm close to the members of National Assembly, and I'm trying to become closer to them as much as possible. But I can tell you that even if they go there, it's like you're trying to teach pigs to sing. Yes, you can just come and assemble them, but it wastes everybody's time. And it becomes more problematic. Is that when we talked about how expensive their vehicle is, the system turned and said it is not their vehicle, it's the administrative vehicles that they have to use for their administration and office use. And when they leave, they'll bring it back. But let me tell you how it works here. When they leave, they'll say, oh, it's not going to be sold. It's been at a reduced price of 500,000. If you pay, you carry it. If you don't pay, you. My brother, let us plan for tomorrow. And like I said earlier, that plan will not be for today. Let's sit down and do proper plan. We've learned some lessons. All I can tell you is that I'm not going away. We're going to face this.
Let's quickly take from Pilo and Mr. Kingsley Ndibe, please. Any of them that can first unmute? Mr. Kingsley Ndibe and Mr. P. Law.
Okay, I'm on.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay. Your Excellency, good evening. This is Kingsley Ndibe from Spain. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. My contribution to today's meeting is, first of all, I want to congratulate you, sir, and everybody that supported you and the Labour Party, because I know that many of us might not know it, but I believe that we might not win the election, but there's something that we've won in Nigeria, and that is making the youth to be conscious about the politics of Nigeria. The participation of the youth was very unprecedented, and I know that it will continue. But the aspect I want to draw your attention to is I believe that in most countries, political parties don't change the trajectory of any country. If you are waiting for political party with structure and people who are there because they have interest to protect and they have people backing them, it is impossible. Every change that has ever been recorded in any country has always been driven by an ideology or a person that will create a movement. In America, the same thing. Civil rights movement, we had Malcolm X and we had Dr. King. In America today, Donald Trump grabbed the Republican Party. Whether you like his way or not, he is being driven, he's driving the force, not really the party. So I believe that God has brought you out to actually, effect changes in our political scene. This obedient movement, I would also like you to see a way it will be restructured. Because today is a Labour Party. We don't know what is happening tomorrow. We don't know the characters that will invade Labour Party tomorrow. But if this obedient movement is very, very strong, sustained, and have a bit of structure, that means that they will have a bigger say on who is climbing, using your wing to get to where they are going. Look at the people that we elected today. They are the same type of, when they are in the house now, but they are the same thing. In South Africa, Malema, you could practically see his movement or his party from every other person in South African parliament. Their dressing, their ideology, everything is because every other person in that party queued to the vision of Malema. So if these people cannot queue into the audition, your vision or your way of actually going about political leadership, I think we should structure a way whereby anybody that that Labour produces or Obedient will produce, if Obedient should produce you, let it be somebody that is representing the interests of the people, not the people that are there for their own pocket. So let us look for a way.
Thank you, Mr. Kingsley. Mr. Kingsley, thank you, because like I said, I'll be right at it. Thank you very much for your suggestion, because I see your own as suggestion. But I've also told people that if you look at what people you mentioned are doing, they didn't start the way it started. Ours was just 18 months to today. We just veered up, going from one party to the other. And it's true that let me just say, just give us time and you see what we're trying to do. And you're going to be part of it. And it's going to be across the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and with people who are committed, who are not transactional. And we need people, and all of you will be there to be guiding us well along.
Very well. Mr. Pilo, please, let's rush this. If you can limit your comments to 1 minute so that our principal can have his rest from the lot of things he has done today.
I have rest. I told you I'm running into a meeting now. I wish I'm going to have rest. I would have even lied down in the bed and be answering all the questions.
Okay, let's quickly take. I don't know how many questions you will be available to pick. We have a lot of hands.
A lot of people are complaining that your selection is not good.
Well,
let me tell you what I'm reading now.
On easy lies the head that wears the crown. I beg them to take away this crown from me. Nobody volunteered. So, Prince Solomon, Fred Okwo, Pilo, any of you available?
Just one more, they are wrong.
Okay, let's take all the three questions.
Thank you. I'm on board.
I think I'm audible.
I'm on board. Thank you very much.
Good evening.
Solomon is talking from Abia State, please.
This is Solomon speaking from.
Okay, can we just have the three of you will speak? Just wait.
This is Solomon speaking from
1 minute.
No,
so Solomon, you are in bed now. You are not. Please.
Prince Solomon is mentioned.
Allah is speaking.
You just asked me to speak now because I've been here.
It's not your own Solomon. It's Prince Solomon he mentioned. It's my own Solomon.
I'm also Prince Solomon now.
I know my hand came up before you, sir.
Mr. Oloba, just pick one person, please.
You are robbing me. You are robbing me.
Prince Solomon. Please,
okay,
Prince Solomon. Just 1 minute, please. Just 1 minute.
Okay, thank you very much. I will start by thanking His Excellency for making our time to be with us tonight. And I will just go straight. One, going by what His Excellency
Your Excellency,
said,
sir, I believe you are muted also. You might want to unmute, sir.
That's fine. Go on, please, Solomon.
Okay, thank you very much. Going by what His Excellency said, well, my name is Prince Solomon, the state chairman of COPDEM in Abia State. He said before he will talk about how to go forward, he will first and foremost appreciate those who suffered in the last election. And that formed my question or my submission tonight, His Excellency. Because when Valentine was talking, he mentioned that we should be able to keep the momentum individually and collectively, you know, when we look away from, my question is, how can we keep it when we look away from reward system? Going by what you also said earlier, that you first and foremost appreciate people. We in Abia State, of course, people work tirelessly nationwide for your emergence. And in our respective states, we also worked tirelessly. We were asked to support our candidates, which we did. And among the support groups that form this COPDEM, is one of them is POSN, which I was also the state coordinator in Abia. And we put in our efforts in all the local government at state level and everything. We did it. And by the special grace of God, Abia had delivered Labour Party. Now, coming to reward system, which where my question is going, understandably that our principal has his group of friends who has been, you know, going with him. I mean, the LSOT who has been, you know, who he has been contesting this election with all this while. And now that we won, of course, they are the ones that are in charge. So if, going by what he said, that there is no opportunity for, you know, for people to be in government, so to say, that, you know, most of the people have to go out there to do some other things through his empowerment loan scheme, which he wants to do. So my question is, how can we keep the momentum when most of the obedience that have worked tirelessly will not be part of the government of LSOT in Abia, where I know that a delegation can
all right,
make
I think Prince, because of time limitation.
Let me land. A delegation make a courtesy visit and be able to carry us along, because the government is vast. There are ways we can come in. But when our people are murmuring, how can we move ahead and keep the momentum? Because when many people are murmuring, many obedience are murmuring. So where even a call alone from His Excellency can make a difference. Secondly, His Excellency, I want to put it to us that the last result, the sham that INEC announced, couldn't have stayed, couldn't have been upheld if our party leaders and people like you, your vice, and the party leaders would have come in front and make a move. The Nigerian youth would have taken it up from there. At a time, people would now leave the scene, but we take it up from there to say that that sham wouldn't have worked. But in your calm way of doing things, you say, let us go through the process. And I believe that in the next, as we plan ahead, after this stance appreciation you want to do, we will be able to restructure, because the kind of leaders you have in Nigeria are not the kind of you take things cool with. Thank you very much. These two things are the things I have asked. One, how can
okay,
our
your own
reward
is a
system...
submission. Prince Solomon, thank you very much. Pilo, please, quickly, 1 minute.
Prince Solomon, let me tell you,
yes, sir.
I appreciate what you said about issue of Abia State and people in government. I continue to say this. If we continue our participation in politics because we want to be in government, we will not get there. People participate in government in elections today to elect good leaders in the Western world, in the third world, so countries that are working, not because they want to be in government, but because good governance is good for everybody. In fact, often at time, it is better for people who are in business, who are in private space. If it is for us to share what is in government, we are not better than those who are inside there because it's transactional. I personally have said it every day. God, do not allow me to be part of sharing public assets. That's why I say every day, God, if I take any government resources that I'm not entitled to, punish me and my family, because it is wrong. We must go from that process. My brother, if what you're saying is what it should be, I wouldn't have gone to Anambra State and leave, which let's go to confirm, and leave $150 million, which nobody have ever left, or leave 21 billion. I would have carried them away. Because there's so many people around me who need money. Even now, today now, at the airport, 2 people asked me, why didn't you bring this money for us to share, Peter? And I said, you people are qualified. You can go and contest the election. I will not be. So for me, we must be able, but appreciating people who work is critical. And if they are looking for anything, if a contractor is part of us and is seeking contract, okay. If anybody is doing that, okay. But for me, let's have a better country where people's hard work and talent will match up the opportunity. And people who are going to Canada today is not because they are going to be giving government job or because they just want to earn a living. So that's one. 2, you said you're asking second question. I hope is it okay? Am I okay?
Yeah, his second question is, why did you tell people to cool down instead of allowing them to come and sack INEC chairman and sack everybody?
Well, let me tell you, everybody thinks that you can get anything out of here by force. I'm involved. Let's just go the way we're going. If we do the right things, we'll get there. And I'm determined to be part of it. Remember what I said, I'm not going away. If there's going to be somebody who feel bad, somebody who do this, I can assure you I should be at the forefront of it. But for me, we will do the right things within the laws, and we will get there.
Thank you, sir. P-Law, please, and Fred Okwa.
Okay.
Fred
Okay.
Okwa.
I think it's my turn. It's my turn.
P-Law, please. P-Law, please.
Good evening, His Excellency. My name is Pastor Lawrence Oramado. I want to first of all thank you, as one of the people that benefited and saw your good governance in Anambra State. I have been a part of your governance when I was pastoring in Onitsha. I want to thank you and thank you for this, that you heeded the voice. But I have just 2 major questions to ask, sir. First is how one of the things that Nigeria most of the time loses when we have a government in place is vibrant opposition. So how do we position ourselves to become vibrant opposition, putting the government in seats to work, making sure that, because giving them a push to work will also show Nigerians where they are so terrible. Number two is, how also are we going to make sure, like you said, that we don't allow transactional leaders to emerge on the platform of our party under your leadership? Because what they will mirror, like it is said, what followers mirror shows what the leader can be.
You can stop talking.
What followers do shows what leadership can be.
I mean,
So if we have people who are emerging, but they are transactional, but you are talking about transformational leadership, it will be confusing people who are listening to you, watching you, especially those who are in the House of Reps right now and House of Senate, who were voted because they were following you, and most of the people said, if they are following Mr. P2B, obviously they are good. So let us vote them, believing that they are going to. And many of them are in Senate now. How are we going to make sure that they actually deliver in their work so that we will be able to show this is what P2B can do if he is given the opportunity based on what people that he told us to vote has done? So I'm asking two questions. How are we going to make sure that such people who are, money conscious, transactional leaders do not emerge with your name or emerge on your platform or emerge with in your movement? And secondly, how are we going to make sure that the ones who are already there are already delivering, are going to deliver in the next 4 years? Because what they do will be a mirror image of how the world and how Nigerians will see what you can do. And those are my two questions, sir. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Law, this is when you're starting this type of thing, it is a work in progress. You're not going to change everybody overnight. I'm happy you're a pastor. So as a pastor, I'm sure, Lord, if people believe in the Bible, you won't be a pastor today, because nothing has changed in the Bible. That's what they read day in, day out. And as a pastor, is what you preached last year that you're still preaching. So if people were listening to you, by now they will have all been converted. But the reason why you continue to do this every Sunday, every day, is that you must keep preaching and talking. Otherwise, year on year, Pastor, you're saying the same thing. You're not saying any new thing. There's no new Bible. There's no new book. It's not as if this one is written by Peter. The next Bible is written by OK or Law. It's something that you've been preaching for people to be of this. So you continue. So it's a continuous work in progress. You continue to convert, win souls, something it is politically. For those who have succeeded and are in that thing, it's the same thing. You continue to preach with them. Even those who were disciples of Jesus, he was preaching to them every day, telling them again, over and over again, and they had one that sold him, that betrayed him. So it is the same thing. We will continue to talk and talk and talk and everything. However, let me tell you, a legislator have nothing to do with issue of having a leader who is committed. You can't use them as an example. Lord, I'm happy you said about being part of what I did in Anambra State. I can tell you, often leadership, good leaders are alone. They're lonely. Because it must be what you believe in that you're doing. And you have to do it from your heart. Something you're committed to. Even as we are in this program, Law, there's people who will say in their chat, if you read it, you bloody thief, you bloody corrupt man, you bloody this and everything. Because not everybody believes in what we're doing now. But you don't need to question. I do tweets and say, oh, we shouldn't use this amount of money to do this, do this. And people are challenging, even when you give empirical evidence of how you applied your money, even when you give empirical evidence this. Dr. Law handed over in Anambra State publicly. So everybody knew that any money I said I left was there. All the bank MDs were there. But people will still tell you, you're a criminal. But what they don't know is that no criminal sees what he can steal and keep it. And that's why even in your church, people come and steal phone. Because it is in their character to steal. It has never happened anywhere since mankind started that a thief saw what he can steal and keep it. I've been in the financial system, I've been in everything. So, but in Nigeria, even if you keep it, oh no, it is not. And it's a transactional space. Because the values people respect today are not in celebrating those who have character, who are competent, who have integrity. It is still a situation where you celebrate criminality. So it's work in progress. I assure you, we'll continue to talk and talk. God willing, we will continue to change.
Thank you very much, sir.
Moderator, you have to let me go.
Yes, sir.
People, we're going to talk soon.
Yes. Thank you very much for creating time to join this meeting. And of course, we are looking forward to more productive meetings in the future and have more time to spend to take a lot of questions. So thank you very much, sir. We really, really appreciate your time. And let me say that I think one of the comments you alluded to were not directed at you. I think it was directed at the gentleman who was who asked questions with regard to why Alex they have not given them appointment after working so hard. So I don't think, yeah. So thank you very much,
well,
sir.
Fine. I just read the chat. You don't know who is directed to, so maybe you who is managing it know who is directed to. But like I said, let us work as a family. There's a lot we can do. The country belongs to all of us, and we must do whatever will make the country be good for everybody, have opportunity for everybody. But I thank you people for this meeting and urge you to continue. We will, like I said before, we will go around, thank people, encourage them, and we'll take suggestions. Where we don't know, I will soon start even some interviews, do Twitter space, which I promise people I will be doing every other month. I've not done it now, which is not what I said, but I'm going to be able to still plead for their forgiveness and this thing, and we'll continue. But I assure you, we'll be able to come out better. And one day be in position to do what will shock Nigerians.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Every other, thank you very much, sir. We are still moving on with the rest of the program. So, Dr. Justin Kingland, that is your session now. Yeah, about discussion on building bridges for posterity.
Yeah, excellent evening, everyone. Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for joining us this night. And I also thank my boss and my good brother, Chief Valentine Ozigbo, for joining us as well. Well, thanks to all the members of the COPDEM and the other obedience for joining this night. Let's go straight to the next program. Engaging Nigerians in diaspora to create a more productive society and a prosperous society for all. With the current situations happening in Nigeria, ranging from harsh economic issues, insecurities, and high level of unemployment amongst our youth, you see that it's very, very important that we engage the diaspora, because they influence, they can influence the growth we need in the grassroots as well. Engaging Nigerians in diaspora will influence national, not only our growth, but national economies in several ways, including remittances to family members in their home country, foreign direct investments, entrepreneurial endeavors, the facilitation of trade and the transfer of knowledge, skills, and all that. Also, the Coalition for the Protection of Democracy, COPDEM, has taken it upon themselves to be in the front of these developmental giant stride that will stand the test of time. And we are going to gear up, and we are just coming up, and we believe we can do more, because we know and this is the first time, the first of its kind, this kind of thing happened. And we thank God for bringing a man who is very, very not only prudent, but a man of truth, a man of wisdom, a man who actually, through him, a new Nigeria will come. So just like a few weeks ago, Nigerians witnessed the highest level of the demeaning of the Nigerian democracy by the Nigerian judiciary. And it got me asking myself, are we still in for a smooth ride in Nigeria, or is this still the same Nigeria that promised her citizen absolute democracy? So, in one voice, we call all Nigerians in diaspora to join hands with COPDEM to create a more productive society and prosperous society for our dear Nigerians. I think we can do more of this, just like most of the comments are read on the comment section. Some are not entertaining at all. Some are not friendly. Though it is what it is, because we know that we all cannot have same belief or same. We all cannot have same belief and same interest, if per se. So it is what it is, and we are going to see. We are not going to say we can't see such things. It will be coming at a while, because not everyone believes in what we believe. But at the same time, as time goes on, maybe they need more conviction from us to make sure that those who are falling apart are those who likely that doesn't have that same level of understanding or see what we already are seeing. They will be able to make up their mind and join us fully in taking this stride further for a greater height. So I still remain my humble self, Ambassador Justin Kingland. Thank you very much,
right.
and I hear the mic.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Kingland. We have 4 items that's remaining. Can we hear from Mrs. Mary Atwei, please? A recap of what His Excellency Mr. P2B and His Excellency Mr. Valentine Ezigbo give just a brief recap of what they told us tonight, and then we will have Mark Ben Edam to thank our special guests, and then Mr. Chinoso Huche to tell us next steps and future actions, and then we'll take brief insight from those who want to make comment 2 minutes each. So let's take it in this format. First, Mrs. Atwei, are you ready to tell us what you got from what Mr. P2B said and what Mr. Valentine Ezigbo said? Are you here? Okay, Mark Ben? Madam Atwei, are you here?
Yeah, I was just trying to unmute myself.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay. First of all, I want to thank everybody who has been able to be here today. My name is Mary Atwei. I'm part of COPDEM, and I'm hoping that anyone who's here who's not part of COPDEM needs to join us to get to help us bring Nigeria to where it needs to be, to help us build a Nigeria that we all deserve. I was meant to recap what P.O. said, but then most of what P.O. said was him answering questions from people. But then if I go back to what Valentine said, it is our responsibility. We have to be good followers. We have to be good followers. We need good leaders, but we have to be good followers. And that's the take away for me from everything he said. Because we cannot give what we don't have. And the first step is selflessness. We need to love Nigeria more than we love ourselves. We need to be willing to make sacrifices. It might be financial, it might be time, it might be opportunities, but we need to give something back. You know, Nigeria has come a long way and in the wrong direction. So we need a lot to get back onto the right direction. And the first thing that we have to give is time, is sacrifice, you know. So he also wants us to be in charge of to be militants, if you like. But what I'll say most importantly is COPDEM is here to bring Nigeria what it deserves.
Your bomba clot.
Sorry? The best thing you can do is to join COPDEM and let us fight this fight together. Thanks very much, P.O., for coming. Thanks, Paul, for coming. Thanks, everyone else, for coming and making tonight positive and possible. Hopefully, going forward, we'll work better to get ourselves in Nigeria that we all deserve. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mrs. Atwei. Mark Ben? Mark Ben? Mark Ben, can you unmute yourself, please?
Yes, I can now. Good evening, everyone. And it's really an honor standing in here to say thank you to everyone who has come, especially our principal, Mr. Peter Obi, for finding time to join us tonight out of the very busy schedule he has. My name is Mark Ben Edam, and I'm speaking from the UK. I want to also thank Mr. Valentine Ezigbo, who had really taken his time to give us a very beautiful talk. And I must say I have a take-home from what he has said. I was silently listening, and I picked a whole lot. And I also want to thank everyone who made our time to join us here, from the organizers, from those who are piloting, those who are hosts, who are recording, to every other person who has even left messages, chats, questions, comments, or what have we. I want to say thank you to everyone. Thank you, and I pray that God will lead us home, even now on our beds, that will sleep very well and wake stronger And I also pray that we'll find the courage to keep pushing until something happens. I want to say thank you once again. My name is Magdan Idem. Thank you, everyone, and have a good night.
Thank you. Mr. Chinonso, please. Mr. Chinonso Ohuche. Mr. Chinonso, please, in your speech, can you also address how one can become a member of COPDEM? I'm seeing a lot of questions on the forum in that area. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you, everyone, for obliging us to attend the event tonight. Special thanks to Mr. Valo Zibo and His Excellency, our principal, Mr. Peter B. himself, on the next steps and future plans and actions for us to take towards the emancipation of our country. As COPDEM, we have dutifully in the past couple of quarters in this 2023 work hard all across the country from the grassroots bottoms up to grow our membership. Because to almost every point that was raised tonight is about how do we get the obedient movement to act more decisively, timely, and in a more coordinated manner. And now that all the electioneering questions has been wrapped up, almost everyone is thinking about probably going back to their day jobs or focusing on their families and businesses or other priorities they have. COPDEM has deemed it very fit to serve as the new vehicle for us to pursue our common interests and common objectives, which is to usher in a new Nigeria and to provide a platform where everyone that believes in the obedient ideals and values of our principal, P2B, to be able to work together with a unified front and pursue the things that will help us ensure that whatever it is that transpired this year at all levels of elections and electioneering process will not repeat itself again, whereby we're having to struggle to believe in a judiciary that is grossly compromised and have no meaningful values to aspire to. And so in line with this, we're encouraging everyone to join COPDEM as the new frontier and the new vehicle to bring into being and to total fruition the new Nigeria that we've all been praying for. Now it's no longer the time for praying, even though we are admonished to pray without ceasing, but faith without works is dead. Now is the time for action. We cannot afford to put it away and say until 2026. If we start now, we stand a stronger chance and a better ground. Everybody has spoken to this point, how that we outdid ourselves in a period of less than 1 year. We were able to shake up the entire polity, shake up the entire cabal, and the people that thought that they are indispensable in the Nigerian politics. It leaves to the imagination what we can do when unified or when collaboratively working together better in a period of 3 years, just before the next presidential election. And along those lines, we encourage everyone to visit our website, visit our local state chapters in your various states or countries of residence, and identify with us, join the website. However you got the link to join this meeting, it's also very easy to request the website where you can go sign up to become a member of COPDEM. It does not stop you from identifying with any other thing you believe in, whether it's a support group or any other kind of political party. But this, as the name implies, is a coalition of protectors of democracy. So if you pride yourself as a protector of democracy, whether in diaspora or in Nigeria, COPDEM is the right platform for you to lend your voice to, because the synergy that we would have when we are all bonded together is far more incomparable to what we can do individually, whether as a support group or as a political party or whatever else we choose to identify as. And so we have set up structures both in the LGA, in the political, in the polling units, and the state levels, and we're asking that you identify with these structures to begin to make whatever meaningful contribution you can make to the cause of protection of democracy in Nigeria. Some of the goals we have that we will be pursuing in the next coming months and years prior to the election includes championing electoral reforms. We all saw how the judiciary has no precedence at all to whatever they have said before, and they have no obligation or interest in upholding the rule of law. They are only interested in promoting their own interests. And so it's important that we unify and fight for a proper reform to the electoral laws that can help promote credible elections and ensure that the people's mandate and the people's interest is what is being heard and not being distorted. We also intend to pursue judicial reforms through the legal systems and through the legislative arm of government. We intend to pursue massive grassroots education, mobilization, and empowerment. Education would include education as we know it, but also sensitization to our civic responsibilities, especially for those of us that are in the rural areas who rarely identify with their civic responsibility, except for when elections are around the corner and all they know is to accept bags of rice or cups of salt and beans because of the level of poverty that is in the land. And of course, integrated into this program is empowerment, because part of the reason that a greater portion of our populace is selling out is because they have nothing to do. They have nothing to aspire to, no inspiration at all. And so COPDEM have several initiatives in the pipeline to help empower these multifaceted poor people in getting a better life for themselves, such that once they have escaped that survivalist instinct of what to eat, Maslow's hierarchy of needs sets in, and they start thinking of how to get a better life and not just how to eat. And they can be able to understand the importance of their civic responsibilities from the educational programs we would have across all grassroots levels to educate them on how they could contribute to make the country better. We also intend on building strategic alliances and partnerships across civil societies and any other kind of political associations that share our common ideals for the new Nigeria. And then, of course, we're targeting the youth, most importantly. The Gen Zs, by the time we're up for the next election, a very good part of them would have been out of college and most likely jobless. So the goal is to laser focus on how to help channel their energies into right courses, such that they are not being railroaded into crime and all other vices in the society. And by the virtue of being able to harvest them young out of school, we might be able to get them to put in the right level of participation that will be required for us to secure a meaningful victory for the new Nigeria in 2027 elections. Last but not the least, we're intending to build an independent, structured election machinery, right? And of course, this could be interpreted in so many ways, but the most important parts are for us to be aligned to these new ideals and goals of the obedient movement and the new Nigeria. And we can all agree on what we want our independent structural election machinery to look like, such that to so many questions that has been asked tonight about the Labour Party, we're not just limited to any party at all, but we see ourselves as a movement that is able to swing votes in any state and in any LGA, in any segment of the country, and we can decide that this is how we want things to be, and we will see it done. So again, we encourage everyone. Nigeria has over 780 LGAs, but so far we have covered barely half of that, about 399, most of which are from the middle belt to the south-south region, and some in the north. But we're encouraging everyone to lend their voice, lend their weight, first by joining by yourself, for yourself, in what we're doing in the movement, and then encourage others in your network to do the same, because two good heads will always be better than one good head. And of course, a lot of states, ESCOs have been formed already. We're asking for those of us who haven't found themselves in those state ESCOs to ask the right questions to whoever brought you to this meeting, and you will be introduced to your state of interest, where you can actively participate in COPDEM programs at the executive level and help us achieve our goals and vision. Thank you, everyone, once again for joining tonight. I'll hand over the mic to the moderator.
All right. We are now in the session where we invite brief insights from anyone who has a comment to make. If you can please restrict it to a maximum of 2 minutes. 2 minutes, please. Chikwendo, please. You can unmute yourself now. Chikwendo.
Good evening, everyone. Yes, my name is Chikwendo, and I'm speaking from London, England. I would like to thank the COPDEM for putting together this interactive evening. I'd like to thank Honorable Val Ozimo for his expose, and the very last speaker made some very interesting points, which I'm going to then peel back from. If I start from his point that COPDEM intends to articulate an independent election